Coming up on Locked On NBA Daily. After an eventful weekend for the Nuggets, are we more or less confident in their ability to compete with the top of the West? Meanwhile, the Celtics keep rolling, and we have a new potential return date for Jayson Tatum. Will he change things for the Celtics? And finally, how much longer can the Warriors survive without Steph Curry? Locked On NBA Daily starts now.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. However you're tuning in on YouTube or on your podcast app, thanks for making us your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel. Play your game. I'm Wes Goldberg, and today we're talking about a big weekend for the Denver Nuggets, the Celtics getting back Jayson Tatum, and our weekend winners and losers. We're doing it with the help of Locked On's local experts. I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast. He's also a senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt?
I found the sea life comparison to Steph Curry. There's a pistol shrimp. It creates a cavitation bubble when its claw snaps, and when that bubble collapses, it reaches a temperature comparable to the surface of the sun.
Are you just now finding that like I used to watch videos on that like years ago. I fell into a TikTok wormhole. It's hilarious. It's great to watch.
What is this thing called?
It's called a pistol shrimp.
Pistol shrimp.
That should be Steph's actual name.
Pistol shrimp.
Steph.
Oh, if you've never seen it either, Wes, go watch the videos.
I literally
great.
just wrote it down. This is my homework.
It emits, it snaps its claw so fast that it emits a flash of light.
Wow. Something for me to check out. From the Locked On Bulls podcast, an expert on pistol shrimp, also a Bears and Bulls creator for Bleacher Report, it's Haize.
Yeah, I'm going to start Locked On Pistol Shrimp. You catch that. I'll give you guys breakdowns because the videos are great because they actually like put them in there against other sea life and they actually have fights. It's really fun to watch.
Oh, so like pistol shrimp cage matches. We'll talk about that. And maybe some Pete Maravich and Steph Curry talk. Very good. We have a lot to get to today. We're going to start today with the Denver Nuggets, who had an important weekend of games against the Thunder and then against the Timberwolves, two of the top teams in the Western Conference over the last couple of years, teams that everybody considers to be contenders in the Western Conference. Well, Denver went 0-2 in those games. I don't know about you guys. I actually came away impressed with how they played against the Thunder, despite that loss. That Timberwolves loss, a little bit more disappointing. Still, Matt, you cover the Denver Nuggets over at Locked On Nuggets. What was the big takeaway for you from this weekend?
It's just one thing after another. That's where Nuggets fans are kind of at, where it's like, it feels like it's the recurring theme for everybody outside the top two in the top six. Like the Wolves are going through their bi-monthly, hey, this could be our year, which is immediately followed by it's so over. Like it's just a cycle with the Wolves. We're back. It's over constantly and constantly and constantly. But the Lakers, the Rockets, and the Nuggets are all in the cycle where it just feels like it's not their year, where Denver's defense was horrific in December. And then the injuries were catastrophic in January. And in February, it was like a culmination of everything. In the first 2 weeks of the February, it was the defense that was horrendous and Jokic couldn't hit a shot. Now Jokic is back to being awesome and the defense has actually been good, but nobody else can shoot. It's just like one thing after another that constantly kind of has beset this team in terms of what has gone on, what has happened, the injuries, not just the injuries, but the timing of it. And I talk about this a lot. Everyone acts like injuries or whatever. It's about when they happen. Do you have cluster injuries at a position that leaves your either rebounding defense or ball handling compromised? Or do you have them kind of spread out? Does it happen in a stretch where you are facing lottery teams and so it doesn't really matter, you're just better than them? Or are you facing some of the best teams in the league? The mix and match of when these injuries happen, I think, is a lot of it. But the Nuggets overall, I think, have left everyone really frustrated with what was supposed to be. This is maybe the most disappointing season of the entire Jokic era, which is saying something given some of the stuff that's gone on.
Funny, the most disappointing season in the era of Jokic would be one of our best seasons that we've had in the decade. So there you go. Perspective is great on that, because I'd love to have a team right now 13 games above 500. But
I tried that. They don't want to hear that. Hey, it turns out that when you have one of the best player, when you have the best player in franchise history, they do not want to hear like, oh, but you're still really good. They do not want to hear that.
Oh, and don't get me wrong. I know I was like 4 years old during the Jordan era, but I'm sure somebody would have been like, "Hey, chill. We're 10 games above 500." People would have said, "What are we doing here?" But listen, the Nuggets, I still look at it. Maybe I'm just drinking the Kool-Aid. I still look at it as mainly injuries for them. If they're healthy come playoff team, I don't care where they're seated. I don't care about any of that. They can beat almost any team that's in front of them if they're fully healthy. So I think health is still one of the biggest factors for the Denver Nuggets. Yeah, there's some other micro things we can talk about, but I don't think we've seen a long enough stretch from this team being 100% healthy to where I'd really worry about it yet. Even at the beginning of the season when they were, like, you were still incorporating, like Cam Johnson's season started off terribly. So, you can't really take everything from that either.
I want to get to the Cam Johnson point here in a second, but Haize, are they maybe being a little too hard on themselves there in Denver potentially? Because I watched that Thunder game. The Thunder are the favorites in the league. They go to overtime with that team. That's the Nuggets. I'm watching that game. It's super physical. That to me felt like a team that could still go toe to toe with the defending champs. I came away, despite the loss from Denver, a little kind of impressed by them, Haize.
Yeah, me too. I like the thing is that as long this team is really talented, and they're always going to have those games that you look at and you're like, okay, well, maybe it's not as bad as we think. And that was what that game was for me. Like I said, I don't get too far down on the Denver Nuggets. I always look at them, and maybe it'll come back to bite me. But if they're healthy in the playoffs, they'll be fine. Even if they're 90% healthy in the playoffs, they'll be fine.
Expectations are the thief of joy. And, from a Nuggets perspective, it's like, yeah, you played them all the way to the end, and Cam Johnson misses the corner three wide open.
Yeah, that was tough luck.
And then they lose in overtime when Shea doesn't play.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, hey, you hung in there. But the expectation from Nuggets fans, and this is a lot, like I'm writing about this right now for one of my Substacks, is the problem is, and this really is it, when you have a player like Jokic, the expectation is not be pretty good. It is not make playoff runs. Like, they've lost once since 2019. They have lost once in the first round, which, like, the first round is the definition of, yeah, you were good, but you were a fraud. And then, like, the conference finals, well, to be honest, now it's like every round is like, unless you win the finals, you're a fraud. And honestly, should be more of these finals teams are frauds, like I've mentioned before. But anyway, like, a consistent top four finish should be really good. The Nuggets are in contention every single year, but with Jokic and the idea of 3 MVPs, all like his performance as best player in the world title for multiple seasons, you should have more. Yep. And I just don't know if that's really doable in today's NBA compared to where some of the other guys in history were. Kevin Garnett, 1 MVP, 1 title. Moses Malone, 3 MVPs, 1 title. Tim Duncan, 2 MVPs, 4 titles, but he was only the best player on 2 of them. It's just a lot of it, I think, is the expectations of the thief of joy.
I want to talk about the expectations too, because with those expectations, as a front office, you're forced to make some moves. I'm not necessarily saying that the Nuggets made the Michael Porter Jr. for Cam Johnson trade because of expectations, but there is that pressure to maximize this window with Nikola Jokic. So they trade Michael Porter Jr. in that first round pick. They get Cam Johnson back, and cap flexibility that helped them get Valanciunas and Tim Hardaway Jr. and these guys. They do all that last summer. The problem is now Cam Johnson has not made much of an impact. It was a miserable weekend for that guy. 0 for 6 and a scoreless night against Minnesota. Maybe his worst game of the season. It definitely his worst game of the season. Matt, you guys talked about this recently on Locked On Nuggets. I want to play a quick clip from that.
Cam hasn't been a fit, and that kills me because I think Cam Johnson is I think he's a good player. I think he's a smart player. He makes plays the way that you want players to make. He's a professional. He comes prepared. He does his work. He gives a high level of effort on every play. He just hasn't been good. He hasn't been a fit in Denver. And it would be fine if he was like Michael Porter Jr. and literally didn't know what was happening most of the time or where he was. But if you threw him the ball, he could throw it in the air and it would go in. And it would be fine if it was like he was a dog and throwing himself across the ground and making a bunch of plays. You could do that, but he hasn't been either. I do think that the coaching staff feels very differently than everyone else does about how Cam's playing. But Cam hasn't made shots, and he needs to make shots. And if he's not going to make shots, he needs to make plays, and he hasn't made plays.
Man, I want to highlight a key point that you made there, that not only is Cam Johnson missing these shots, he's not really doing anything else out there right now. Should the Nuggets be more concerned about this?
Good question. I don't think so. And so, I'm able to kind of be a little bit more reasonable here than I get to be on Locked On Nuggets, because everyone just wants doom over there right now. They just want kill Cam Johnson, destroy David Adelman. Bah! Here's the thing. You know who's shooting better from three this season between Cam Johnson and Michael Porter Jr.? Cam Johnson. Now it's like, oh, but the usage, I get it. Michael Porter Jr. is getting a lot of shots for a team that's going to win 20 games. A lot of shots over there. By the way, MPJ has a 5th percentile defensive EPM this season, just as a heads up. The Nuggets are actually better this season with Cam Johnson than they were with MPJ and Jokic. And you could be like, well, that's because of the rest of the team. Okay, cool. But you get some sort of credit for helping the team play that way. Cam's honestly been fine. The coaching staff has continued to trust him. But one of the problems I have is Jokic was super frustrated with him early in the season. It's been less since Jokic came back from the injury. He hasn't really had many of those moments. Tim Hardaway Jr. was asked last night about hey, because Cam's dealing with an ankle injury. It was bothering him in the OKC game, but they don't have any wings with Peyton Watson and Aaron Gordon out. So he felt like he had to play through it. And Cam it was not good in the locker room. You could tell how much pain and discomfort he was in. He's emotionally upset, but he's also physically pretty wrecked, and he just tried to play through it. And you go out there, you compete, you get judged. I get it. But Tim Hardaway Jr. was asked about it, about what do you, when Cam's going through something like this and the ankle, what do you kind of say to him? And Tim was like, everybody's dealing with something right now. That's how it goes. Everybody in this locker room is dealing with something. And it's kind of could have probably stuck up for your guy a little bit more there. And that's, Tim, I don't think meant to take shots at Cam. He's just being real. I don't know that the chemistry fit is what it probably should have been for how smart Cam Johnson is. And there's a lot of people that I have blame for about that is complicated. But in general, that to me gets kind of to some of the point here. And look, with Peyton Watson being a restricted free agent, it's not going to surprise me at all if Cam Johnson has moved this summer so they can pay Peyton Watson.
Haize, really quick, before we get out of here, your thoughts on how Cam Johnson has fit in or fit out in Denver?
Yeah, I agree with Matt. I've been a little bit surprised that he hasn't fit in as well. But I think this, if he does stay past the season, we've seen it before that sometimes players have that rough first year of adapting to a new system. This is the first time he's on a team with actual expectations too. So maybe it's just some of that he has to adapt to, and maybe it'll be better in year 2 if he has a second year in Denver.
We're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about the Celtics, who keep winning. And we have a new projection of when they could get Jayson Tatum back in the lineup. How much is that going to change things for Boston? We'll talk about that next. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by BetterHelp. March is a time to celebrate women, especially around International Women's Day, and to recognize just how much they carry at work, in relationships, in families, and in all of the unseen roles that they step into every single day. We all have women who are important in our life, and it's important not only to recognize them, but to learn from their strength. I think about my mom and how much she carries about without always saying so, and it makes me think, how many of us are doing the same thing? The roles we play, the expectations that we carry, the pressure that we don't always talk about. Therapy can help with all of that, creating balance, setting healthy boundaries, and supporting your overall well-being. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 6 million people served worldwide, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, and it works. Fill out a short questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist, and if it's not the right fit, switch at any time. Your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily. The best way to support the show is to subscribe on YouTube. We are Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, wherever you get your podcasts. Celtics got a nice win over the Sixers on Sunday, and they've really cemented their status as the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. And now you've got Bill Simmons hinting that Jayson Tatum is looking at a return on Friday against Dallas. Haize, what should be the expectations for Jayson Tatum if he comes back after having not played in what's nearly going to be 10 months?
I don't think you should have any expectations for Jayson Tatum. Just let him come back and ease his way back in. We this next month, this month of March, could be really important for him to just even get back to a place of being, even semi-comfortable on the basketball court. So I'd say this for Jayson, like, take the shots that are smart, play with your team, default to them. Like, you're not going to see the Jayson Tatum that isolates a lot and things like that, but I don't think you should have any expectations right now. Just let him ease back in, and let's set that expectation maybe after a week or two of getting back.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what the expectation is, like from a reasonable people. There will of course be people that are like, see, he sucks if he struggles. And if he plays awesome, he'll be like, this is how it's going to be forever. No, probably not. The recovery day is actually the most important thing, Wes. Like, that's actually the biggest thing, is it's the day after, and how he feels the day after is going to be the hardest part. The adrenaline will get him through the first game. I think a lot of it is what do I know? But if I were talking to a player, I would be like, the biggest thing is you need to start trusting yourself right away. You have to force yourself to trust your body. The training staff says you're good to go. Your personal doctors say you're good to go. You feel good enough to play. You're in condition. The injury is healed. You have to trust it. Like, that's the hardest part, man, is they come back and they just don't trust the stuff that they used to have, because we do not consider enough how the mental impact of this on athletes and the trauma that it kind of creates. It's not trauma like some of the worst things that can happen in life, but it is trauma, because this is like your entire universe is basketball. And all of a sudden your ability to do this thing that you've always done was gone. And you have to be able to get back to a mental place where you can plant off that foot and feel like it's going to be there. It's going to hold up. You've done the strength. You've done the work. You've had the surgery. It's been repaired. It's been long enough. You were in a position to do this. You have to trust your body. That is the biggest thing. If he gets through the game and he is able to do those things, I don't worry about the shooting efficiency. I don't worry about the finishing ability. I don't worry about how much burst he has. It's about, can he get to a place where feels like he can trust his body to play basketball. If you do that, he'll get better every single game.
I think one of the interesting things here also is to watch the team dynamic. How much do they defer to Jayson Tatum to try to get him going, get him those shots, versus kind of doing what they're doing? We could see a little bit of a period where it looks a little awkward at first, right? We saw this when LeBron came back, and like the Lakers were trying, rolling with Luka and Reeves, and they were trying to get LeBron involved, and they kind of dipped, and then it's been up and down for them all season. But that's more of a Lakers thing than an injury thing. When Jayson Tatum does come back, it is going to impact Boston's rotation, right? Like, there's a lot of guys in this rotation who are playing well. We're going to talk about who should play, who should not play down the stretch, and in the playoffs when Tatum comes back. In particular, they do have questions at center. Here's more from Locked On Celtics.
I talked about, I think Vooch might end up being the starter, and I still think that could be the case, which I know people are going to be like, John, did you not just see what Nimi did? Yeah, if Vooch becomes a starter, it's because Joe likes the combination with Jayson and Jalen and wants the floor spacing. When I say that Vooch would start, it's not that I'm saying Vooch is better than Kata. Like, when I say I want Kata on the bench with Peyton Pritchard, it's because I like those two working together. It's almost like last year. Pritchard is a starter. Vooch played 20 minutes in this game. It's kind of almost starter level minutes. Kata played 27. It doesn't matter who starts.
So John over at Locked On Celtics gets into all the different kind of rotation questions that the Celtics team is dealing with. But in that clip, he said something that was really interesting to me. It's kind of like last year. This Celtics team has been very good all season long. They add Vucevic at the trade deadline. Haize, did they reload already? Are they as deep as they were last season?
It feels like it's close to it, like, especially based off the way that they play. Like, if looking at this roster, if you gave me the roster last season, the roster this season, and just looked at the names, I wouldn't say that I think that it was as deep. But watching them play this year, it does feel that way. And you're adding Jayson Tatum to this. Vooch is a player that you know exactly what he is and what he can do well and what his weaknesses are. I think his weaknesses are covered up a little bit better on this Boston team. So I think this is a team that can go the distance in the Eastern Conference this playoff season. I didn't necessarily think that.
Haize, you did not recognize that was a cry for help from Wes. He really needed you to say that no, they weren't. I'm
sorry, Wes. I hate it, bro.
So I need a pat on the head, and then don't worry, buddy. It'll be okay.
So I'm gonna go even further. No. They're better than last year.
No.
This team is now. Can you believe this?
No.
Like John Corrales said the defense was going to be absolutely horrendous. Like John, who knows the Celtics inside and out, was like, the defense is going to be an absolute joke this year. They're 9th in schedule adjusted defense now. They're top 10 in offense and defense. They have the 3rd best net rating in the NBA. They take less threes than last year, which to me is monster. They're still one of the highest teams because it's an advantage, but they're not such a one-trick pony as last year. They have a much deeper offensive repertoire they can get to. Mid-range shots with Jaylen Brown, diving the rim. The Vucevic stuff I think is really interesting from the perspective of, I kind of agree with John, because you can cover for Vooch better with Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Tatum. Those guys are going to cover for Vooch defensively, and they're going to be able to run the kind of stuff that they need. Plus, the 5-out capability is huge. If you think back to when Luke Cornett was coming off the bench and how great those pick and roll minutes were off the bench for Boston last year, Kata can fill that kind of role offensively while also being a great defensive player. And if you need defense, you can just go to Kata. They've got more options now. Tatum will open up more lineups. They can go super small. They can go super big. They can do a lot of things. Like, this Celtics team is going to be a problem in the playoffs. And I think that there is a chance that their playoff peak might be a little bit better even than last year's.
Look, the hater in me was watching that
Wes.
Sixers
Come on,
game.
it's okay, Wes. Just come over to the dark side.
I'm watching that Sixers game, and I'm like, boy, Maxi's really destroying Vucevic in this pick and roll with the way that Vucevic is dropping. Is this going to be like an Enes Kanter situation where you can't play Vooch? And to your guys' point, like, okay, then we just go to Kata, and you're just like, all right,
switch it.
Yeah, you're just like, all right, we'll ditch it for this game, and it doesn't matter. Vooch was a -7 or something in that game. It didn't matter. Kata was awesome. Had this crazy historic night. You're probably not going to get that every night from Kata, but you're not going to need that, especially when Jayson Tatum comes back and is going to give you some kind of production, right? I don't think we can expect MVP candidate Jayson Tatum when he comes back. I think that would be unfair if we're talking about expectations. But a guy who could step in and just be better Baylor Shireman or Jordan Walsh, that's kind of at first, and then kind of build up from there. And I mean that is no slight to Jayson Tatum, despite the fact that I'm a hater.
Like, can you play Vucevic in drop coverage versus Jaylen Brown in a Knicks series? No, he'll kill you.
Against Jalen Brunson, yeah.
Jalen Brunson, no, he'll kill you.
Right.
Can you get away with it in a double big lineup and put him on Cat?
Yep.
Probably. Yeah, you can probably do that.
Space Mitchell Robinson out.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I said this before, but like, the only reason we say that the East is wide open is because of the Jayson Tatum injury and because of the Tyrese Halliburton injury. It's really both of those injuries. Like, if both of those guys were healthy from the start of the season, we would have labeled one of those teams the favorites in the East. Overwhelmingly so, probably. Maybe but certainly with the Celtics. If Tatum comes back, all of a sudden this whole idea just changes, right? That the East is wide open.
Yeah, I agree with you to a certain degree, but I also say this: as good as I think Boston is, and I think they're good, it's also, look, styles are going to make fights.
Mm-hmm.
That is the entire thing of the playoffs of the last 7 years. Is styles make fights, and you can very reasonably argue, yeah, but Boston and OKC were so dominant. Well, kind of. OKC struggled in 2 series when they didn't have matchup advantages. They were good enough to win, but it was really close. Boston never faced a team that could really match up with them in 2024. There's just not. I don't think that we're going to have a run, maybe, but I don't think we're going to have a run here where a team winds up with no bad matchup.
Yeah.
Styles make fights in the NBA playoffs.
It's going to be really interesting when the Celtics are playing the Heat in the 2-7 matchup in the first round.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to those games. Meanwhile, the Warriors got some tough news over the weekend, not like the Celtics. There might, however, be a silver lining. We'll talk about that next. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. College basketball is nonstop, big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now, FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay that you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits your need. You can mix spreads, you can mix totals, player props, whatever you need to do to match how you see the slate playing out. Then you can apply that profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. Look at the odds around your team, and if they are in season and go safe, you can go bold. Ride with your team that you've been following all season long. It's your parlay. It's your style now with more upside than ever. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel. Play your game. Today's episode is also brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position that you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, skills, experience, and location, so you're not just hoping that the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I'll be talking to you, companies like yours will make 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing the candidates who check all of your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying that you heard about us on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Thanks for making Locked On NBA Daily your first listen every day. The Locked On Podcast Network has a show for every team. Check out Locked On Nuggets and Locked On Celtics for more on today's top stories. It's time for our weekend winners and losers. Haize, why don't you kick us off?
Weekend winners. I'd say we actually won yesterday, so I'm going to say my Bulls. We got to win the first win in the month. Bulls fans actually have. Now, there's been more people complaining about the win than not, but it was good to see my team actually get a win, and it was the worst fourth quarter of basketball I've ever seen by a team that the Milwaukee Bucks play. So they're the losers there.
You need a win every once in a while, even as a tanky team, just to keep morale a little bit higher in that locker room. Matt, what about you? Muted.
Knicks truck the Bucks and then get the big win versus the Spurs on Sunday. So they've got to be a winner. Defense is playing great. That was they continue to kind of have these defensive performances that exceed expectation. Their floor and ceiling are so high, it's kind of hard to get a read on the Knicks. But when they do play well, they play absolutely awesome. They're like 6-2 versus the top 6 teams in the Western Conference. So if the Knicks were in the West, they would actually probably look a little bit better, which is ironic. Timberwolves obviously got to be here too. Getting that win over Denver, they really wanted that one. They wanted that one. Minnesota is, I wouldn't say that they are quote peaking at the right time because one, I don't believe in that, and two, it's probably a little early for that kind of concept where it's like you still got another month before we get to the playoffs. So I think those are probably my winners for the weekend.
My winner is Shai's MVP candidacy. Comes back from 11 games off, scores 36 in a win over Jokic and the Nuggets, 30 over the Mavericks. We're back. He's back. He's obviously still the favorite for MVP, and we talked a little bit about his eligibility last week. That does not seem to be an issue now that he's back. Let's talk about some losers. I want to kick us off here because I need to talk about Steph Curry and the Warriors. Curry ruled out for another 5 games, and the team is still not sure if he's going to come back and when he's going to come back, rather. Matt, should they just consider shutting him down until the playoffs? They're 3 games out of 7th place. They're 5 games out of 6. They're still 2.5 games up on the 9th place Clippers team that is not, they've been up and down since the trade deadline. What's the value of bringing Steph Curry back? Are they better off? And they're asking this question locally in Golden State. Are they better off just sort of shutting him down and then bringing him back for the postseason to make sure he's as fresh as possible?
I can't believe you're asking this question. They can't afford this, Wes. They're not good enough. And it's like, oh, but they won't fall out of the play-in tournament. We have one team that has made it out of the 10 spot, and that is the Miami Heat last year, who then got absolutely detruculated. I don't even know if that's a word, by the Cleveland Cavaliers. It was absolutely nightmarish. And usually that 10 seed doesn't even make it out. There's no team that's going to catch them, because the Memphis Grizzlies will lose however much they have to avoid making the play-in. But I mean, this Warriors team is like, they're not good. Like, this team is bad. They're very bad. They need Steph, and they really need to put themselves in a position where they can get home court. Phoenix is struggling right now with Devin Booker out. He's supposed to be back later this week. Like, you've got a chance to be able to get to 7. I don't think you're going to get to 6, but you could get to 7, which is fine. And at least have a chance of making it. Honestly, if you're thinking about this and you're like, let's just shut something down for the playoffs, why not shut them down for the year and just kind of kick it back next year? Get Jimmy back, just kind of reset. Like, all right, it didn't happen for us. Maybe next year in Steph's probable last season, we can maybe make a run here. I just, nothing really makes sense. They are trying so hard to make a run with everything failing. And it's just like, oh, we got Kristaps. Nope, he's sick again with that condition. And I don't know what happens here with the Warriors, but the reality is like this team is bad. Like they are not good.
Haize, your thoughts on the
There's
Warriors?
no hope. Like there's no hope. They're not going anywhere. Nothing's happening this season. It's not going to happen. Let them go back to the drawing board this offseason. Maybe LeBron wants to come play a season with Steph. Maybe something like that. This season though, it's done. They're not. Nothing's happening this season for them. No matter if they have Steph Curry, nobody. It's not happening.
I'm a LeBron apologist. I am on record right now as saying that would be the lamest possible way to go out for LeBron to pair up with Steph in Golden State. That would be lame. It would be lame.
Luckily, when you're a billionaire, you can afford to be lame.
That doesn't stop him. Haize, your loser.
I said that. Well, the Milwaukee Bucks definitely.
Right.
Outside of that, I don't know. Like, yeah, the Milwaukee Bucks are still my loser because you lost to the Bulls, man. Come on now.
Matt.
The Rockets were in a bad schedule spot, but that loss to the Heat was not ideal. I can't believe that they benched Amen Thompson. That's pretty. What?
Thompson twins getting benched lately at the end of some of these close games.
What is happening? I think that one kind of matters. I will also say the Blazers are without Denny Avdia. Like that team is spiraling. Can we I get how good the top of the West is, but God, the middle of the West is so bad. Like Blazers, Warriors, these are not serious teams. Like these are just not. You are not serious people. From that perspective. So it's like them and the Nuggets are probably the losers of the weekend. I know it's like, oh, the Thunder, like the Nuggets competed. Well, they didn't want to compete. They actually want to be good. One more winner. How about Keon Ellis with like 5 blocks with one hand with a broken finger? Shout out to Keon Ellis for that performance. That was pretty amazing.
Loser Sacramento Kings for not understanding what they had there when they had him.
I guess I didn't think he was going to be that good, man. I was like, oh, come on. Like 2 coaches didn't think, oh, no, it really is the Kings.
The Kings be Kingsing, as always. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA Daily wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Thank you to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network your first listen. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA Daily.